Now let's get into headline number 2. So for headline number 2, we have supporting students. Some teachers say they won't follow Saskatchewan's pronoun law. This is based on a CTV article, and this article says that Alex Smith says that she knows she may face consequences for not following the province's pronoun law, but it's a risk she's willing to take. The Regina public school teacher says she'd rather ensure gender diverse children who could be put at risk at the law are safe. Part of the process has always been, number 1, thank you for sharing this with me, and number 2, how can I support you? Schmid told the Canadian Press in an interview. She said also in that same interview, and I quote, I think that this respects the rights of parents. And if children say, I need you to support me and not share this information until I understand how, then that is the way that I would support students. So what are your thoughts on this, Jonathan?
Look, this whole thing's been way overblown, and it's preposterous. And honestly, this woke ideology needs to die. Like, no, it does. It really does. Because here's the thing:
it's a virus.
Here's my problem with this. We trust parents to raise their children in every aspect of their lives until they're 18 years old. They are responsible for that kid until that kid is 18. You know, feed them, clothe them, house them, take care of them, nurture them, do all these things. And I know some people have a rough go of it, but that's what we trust parents to do. Except for some weird reason, on this particular issue, when it comes to selecting your sexual identity, when you're too young to even understand the ramifications of it, we think that the school system, an extension of the state, are the people that should be in charge. What the fuck? I'm sorry, but that doesn't make any sense at all. Like, when you were growing up and you went to school, how did you feel about your teachers, usually?
For the most part, most of my teachers are kind of lame, but I had a few cool teachers. I'm not going to lie, I had a few cool teachers.
Right, but the thing is they weren't even friends. They were just like, it was like an authority figure that you would never really get too close to. You were okay with them. You kept a very healthy distance. Now all of a sudden, kids are supposed to they're supposed to trust them and seek their approval and go to them with their problems more so than their own family and their own parents. What are we doing?
You know what I'd add to that, just to add a little bit of context? So I don't know. I know this has happened to me before, just because sometimes, and I've seen it happen to other students as well. Sometimes you're around teachers so much, especially like, let's say if it's a woman teacher. By any chance, you might subconsciously say, "Oh, mom," just like subconsciously. Some people do that, right? It depends on like if you're cool with the teacher or not. So I've seen it happen in some scenarios, right? Never really happened to me too much, but I've seen some students accidentally like call their parents. So maybe there's some teachers who feel like they're that close with their students that they're almost like a secondary parent. I don't agree with that notion, but maybe that's how some of the teachers feel, because it does happen in the classroom.
But we're talking about macro policy applied at scale, not the odd person that gets along well with everybody who ends up being the guidance counselor. We're not talking about that person. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not. For me, this whole thing has just gotten to a point where they are continuing to defend this idea that kids should be able to keep, or that teachers rather, it's not kids, that teachers should be keeping the gender identity of a student away from their parents. Look, is there anything that a teacher should keep from the parents of a child? Really?
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
And my teachers wouldn't. Like,
right,
if I did something at school, guess what? My parents are getting a phone call.
That's exactly, that's what I mean. So there is actually nothing that lives on that table, except we're allowing this one thing to live in that space, which is relatively new over the last decade. We've introduced these weird ideas to these kids that a lot of them are prepubescent. They don't even understand what any of these things, they don't have the faculties to make these decisions and understand what this means. And instead, what we're doing in these public school systems is we're rewarding kids for making these choices. So when you're a kid, you want to be loved, you want to get along, you want to be right, you want to do the right thing, you want to be a good kid. Like a little puppy dog, you want to be a good dog.
Yeah.
So if your teacher is waving a rainbow flag and telling you that if you're on this side of the fence, you get treated differently, you get treated better, you're special. They reward it. What the hell do you think kids are going to do? And now they're saying,
it's Pavlov's theory.
That's exactly it. And now they're saying, we don't want to include parents in this decision. Look, what's happening is politicians, some of them have kids. You know, parents, they're pushing back against the politicians that are in power. And now they're finally putting policy in place, legislation in place that says, hey, enough of this shit. Guys, you went too far. But you've got a lot of these weird, hard left-wing woke ideologues that are continuing to push this thing like it's their hill to die on. Go have your own kids and go take care of them and leave the rest of them alone.
Exactly.
And here's the thing that's really important. We're not saying that kids can't be whatever they want or whoever they want. I always believe in your right to choose to be exactly who you are. Yeah. But before you're 18 years old, in the vast majority of cases, your best support network is going to be at home. Making a decision about something like this that you shouldn't even make before you're 18, that's how I firmly feel about it, should never be made outside of the home and should never have anybody from the state involved in these decisions. Yeah. It's just gone too far. And you know what? You're going to have these odd groups that are going to push back and be like, we're going to do what's right for kids. And, you're all this other crap. They're going to eventually get snuffed out. They are the last. I don't mean that like physically. I mean their voices are going to get snuffed out. Like you get these teachers that are doing this stuff, but they're losing support. They're the last of the fringe. They're the last of the people that are arguing, saying we're going to stand up and we're going to do this. And they're going to start getting fired. They're going to start getting let go because the policy is in place and now the law is on our side. The law is on the side of the parents now. So when these people say this stuff, let them talk shit. Let them scream. That's what they're doing right now because now the law is actually pushing back against them. So if they choose to do this, you're going to watch one case. You're going to see one case where someone's going to do this. Some blue-haired freak who's teaching your kids is just going to happen, who doesn't have any kids of their own, by the way.
Or have intentions of having kids.
Exactly, but they're going to tell you what's right and wrong. They're going to get let go. And then all of a sudden, everyone in that whole circle is going to go, well, I have to eat. That's more important than letting some kid choose their gender and hiding it from their parents. And that's the day that it's going to stop. We need one good example, and this shit will start coming to an end because the law is finally in the right place on this issue.
Yeah, and it's a good thing because I think it kind of goes to that notion of, when you give an inch, a lot of people take a mile at the end of the day. And, like for those who aren't aware, but I mentioned this quite a bit time, I'm a part of the first Gen Z generation, so 96. So it wasn't as prominent when I was like going through school, but it was like starting. Right. Like I noticed around like high school, a lot of this stuff like really started for me around like grade 10. So this was like 2012. Yeah. My gosh.
Bro, I graduated high school in 2003.
Oh my gosh. Yo, I was like what, 7? That's wild. That's wild. Yeah. Oh, but good times. So
high school was a good time for me, 100%, man.
It was fun. But I noticed around that time, that's when they really started like getting aggressive on this, the LGTV.
Leave it at
my
that.
My LGTV agenda. And I remember, it literally happened. Like one time, I was in English class. Yeah. We had a test, right? And this whole honestly, let me get it. But they add so many letters, man. I just can't go off on it.
That's what it is now. That's what it is now.
Yeah, like it's no offense to the L's and the LB and the G's. No offense, but everything else after that, I'm sorry, you lost me. But back to the point what I was saying. I noticed like around that time, like around like your grade 10, like for me is like when they really started to get aggressive with it. And I remember I was at a Catholic school too, so that's the craziest part. And there was a teacher for some people of my friends who were following. You might know her. I'm not gonna say her name, but it was a certain English teacher that marked very hard and everyone hated around that time. If you know, you know. And this woman, like, we had like a test at the end of the day, and I remember it was Pride Month, and she went on. Mind you, we only have like an hour to do the test, and she took like 35 minutes of the class, giving us some super like unhinged like rant about the month and why we need to give our support and everything like that. And I remember like I had to stop her in her tracks. I literally got up and I said, "Miss, I know you're passionate about this, but we have a test to do. Like, we have a test to do." I had
the only student in history stops the teacher from ranting to do a test.
Yeah, no, legit. Because like, our it was getting to the point where I was like, all right, like I also wanted her to shut up. I'm not.
Yeah, you're like, I'm already gonna fail this fucking thing. Give me a break. Yeah.
Just give me a break. Yeah. So I got it to stop, and then as soon as like I told how they get that crazy look in their eyes, the big bulging eyes.
Pop them out. Let's go. Like they're in the WWE, it is the Undertaker.
They get activated, and I don't know what it was, but she started going on some unhinged rant. How she said, "Oh, by the end of the day, by the end of month, oh, she's gonna make sure I'm at all of the Pride events, and I'm gonna sit front row, and I need to be." And I was just like, first of all, I didn't ask for all of that. Second of all, like, we're in a Catholic school. I don't know how you got in that. Like,
you're in a Catholic.
You know, I literally said that. I'm like, second of all, we're in a Catholic school. I don't know how you got in
so
here, like doing all of that.
How did you penetrate the system, lady?
Yeah, like, and then there's just second. I'm like, do you even believe what's in the Bible and stuff like that? And then she got super aggressive again. Then that's when I said, all right, like, enough's enough. Like no, for real. Like, let's do the test. Then obviously she called the principal on me and everything like that. She said I was like getting aggressive and I was gonna fight her and all type of stuff. And funny enough, the principal when I got to the office, they didn't even like scold me. They're just like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." Like, and you know that look when they're just like, "We know she's crazy, but we can't tell you she's crazy."
Yeah. We have to show her a little bit of support, but we're not here to give you any trouble.
Yeah, exactly. And that and they just kept me and they did everything. And then, because I'm so cool with some of my teachers, like, after the fact, I asked them about that later on, and I said, like, yeah, like, they know she's crazy. It's just that they couldn't fire her. So there's so many situations like that. And the reason why I brought that up is because there has to be strong precedent in order to, like, fire a lot of these teachers, because they have have strong units. So if the law's, you know, on the side of the parents, this is going to be a huge factor in terms of, like, getting them removed. Because back then, you know, there wasn't anything protecting people from, like, you know, hearing these types of things or, like, you know, being influenced in these types of ways.
No, you're right. They were basically, they had a blank check to write whatever they wanted on it and cash it and how treat these kids however they wanted and do whatever they wanted to parents. Now there's a law in place that will turn the tide. So yeah, I agree.
If you like this video, make sure you check out this one right here. And if you want to watch the full podcast, make sure you check this out here.